Hello everybody, welcome once again to Wilderspool Stadium, the home of the Warrington Rugby League Football Club. On your screens there you can see tonight's visitors from Halifax, coached by the Great Britain coach Mal Reilly. I will run straight through the visitors, lining up Steve Lay, John Bentley, John Schuster, Graham Hallis, Mark Preston, Michael Hagan, Paul Bishop, Carl Harrison, Roy Southernwood, Gary Lord, David Boyd, Mark Perrett, Gary Devarte, Henry Sharp and Lee Harland. Lots of talent stacked into the Halifax team. Keep your eye out for the 3 Newcastle Knights. From Australia, John Schuster, Michael Hagan and David Boyd. Halifax coming into tonight's game unbeaten. They have a record of 5 wins and 1 draw. You can see in front of us there, Brian Johnson's Warrington, taking the park to rapturous applause. Straight through Brian Johnson's team tonight, we have Lee Penny, Rob Myler, Alan Bateman, Jonathan Davis, Tony Thornley, Kevin Ellis, Greg Mackey, Gary Chambers, John Thursfield, Roland Phillips, Paul Cullen, Gary Sanderson and Kelly Shelford. Subbing for Warrington tonight, Mike Gregory and Craig Teitzel. Had just one correction to give you there. In the second row, the numbers have changed. It is in fact 11 Mark Perry and 12 David Boyd. On your screen there, I am pleased to be able to welcome Ian Barton, aged 12, from Penketh High School. Ian's hobbies are rugby, fishing and watching the wire. Favourite players for Ian are Bob Jackson and Mike Gregory. So thanks to Ian there, thanks to his parents for supplying him for tonight's game. I'm sure it's a day Ian will never forget. Middle of the park now we have Greg Mackey, captain in the Warrington team tonight, wearing 7, and I believe it is Carl Harrison captaining Halifax. Tonight's match official, the very capable Russ Smith from Castleford. Russ was given the greatest accolade in rugby league refereeing during our close season. He refereed the Trans-Tasman Test. No greater recognition of his talents than that. We're almost ready to go. Warrington wobbled last time out at Bradford. Halifax have been going along quite nicely, are definitely a dark horse team for all the major trophies in the Stones Bitter Championship and elsewhere in British Rugby League. 1 or 2 changes in the Warrington team out wide. Welcome back to Myler and Thornley. That would tell me that Brian Johnson will be looking to use the 3/4. Bags of pace in the Halifax 3/4. Watch out for Bentley, Schuster, Hallis and Preston. Paul Bishop, as usual, will be at the hub of everything. Warrington's best performance last season, which was captured by Micron Video, was indeed against Halifax here at Wilderspool, a game never to forget. A game tonight half as good as that, everyone will be happy. We're almost ready to go. Expectations high at Wilderspool. They are looking as though they possess the credentials to be genuine championship material. But that shock defeat at Bradford Northern shook everybody up. So double Welsh international and world-renowned centre Jonathan Davis prepares to get the game underway. I'll activate the onboard computer. Ball goes long. Halifax in possession then, looking to clear the try line. There's Roland Phillips and Gary Chambers involved in the tackle. Ball goes midfield. We have Sanderson involved in the tackle. So the ball staying amongst the big boys. Here's Harrison. Performed so well for Great Britain at Wembley on Saturday. Today's only Monday. 2 games in 2 days. That's professional rugby league. Right below us, Alan Bateman in the tackle with John Thursfield. There's Bishop unloading. Gary Lord in possession there. Ex-Leeds and Castleford wearing 10. So it is kick time. Paul Bishop left-footed goes long. Rob Myler keeps his eye on the ball. Ball runs out on the full. So we will get a tap restart from the quarter line then. John Thursfield, former Woolston amateur, wearing 9 for the Warrington club, gets proceedings underway. Huge tackle there involving Gary Lord. So it is Thursfield. Dummy run from Paul Cullen. Ball ends up with Roland Phillips. Listen to the crowd. Roland Phillips, a definite crowd favourite now at Wilderspool Stadium. Ball goes midfield. Greg Mackey feeds Gary Sanderson. Solid tackle coming in from Gary Devarte, former Hull FC player. So here's Gary Chambers. Michael Hagan, Newcastle Knights, wearing 6, involved in the tackle. Halifax fans giving voice away to our left. There's Alan Bateman, ridiculously left out of the Great Britain team for the weekend test. Thursfield, look for the kick. Jonathan Davis, who took part in the match at Wembley, feeds opposite number Steve Lay, who is on loan from Hunslet, lays off on the run, looking to impress and earn a contract at Trim Hall. So it's Stephen Stevens this far in. 2 kicks, the ball has been in each team's red zone. Tackle breaks out midfield there. Roland Phillips involved. Ball will come our way. Carl Harrison, former boxer, knows how to do the business. Well tackled there, Kelly Shelford. Smart hands from the Halifax outfit. Sanderson on the tackle. Run from dummy half. Roy Southernwood unleashes for wing man Mark Preston, former Wigan player. Ball's at the half then. Hagan at acting half. Here's Paul Bishop. Mackie applied the pressure. The kick was got away successfully. Here's Tony Thornley. Back in the first team. Thornley, a former Woolston amateur, has been absent for several weeks. Lee Penny, Great Britain under-21 international. Internationals at all levels, littered all over the park tonight. A game to whet the appetite. Smart handling move there. Crunch tackle, John Schuster. Russ Smith's on the job. We've got a bit of kerfuffle in the tackle, nothing to write home about. I'm looking for Russ Smith to make some sort of a sign. High tackle. First penalty of the evening then to the home team. So there's Davis, right-footed, into touch, picking up good yardage. Warrington will have a set of 6 from 8 metres within the Halifax half. Here's Mackie, Roland Phillips, going hard and central, bouncing defenders off him. Phillips finally put away by Gary Lord. Quick play the ball, here's Mackie once again. Dummy play, Kelly Shelford unable to take the pass. Russ Smith awards the scrum down. So here's the first scrum of the evening then, right in front of us. Here's a chance for you to gauge the power in the 2 packs. Bishop will feed. Bit of a delay. So Bishop feeds the ball. First scrum for Halifax then. Smart hands results in Steve Lay tackled a metre shy of the half. Halifax looking on their toes at this point. There's Lee Penny executing a firm tackle. Hagan feeds Bishop. Bishop unloads. Magnificent tackle midfield. Gary Chambers. There's Southernwood again. It's Castleford's scrum half. Now playing at hooker for Fax. Gary Chambers looks hungry for action and work. So the ball crosses the half then. Shouts for a forward pass. Gary Lord in possession. There's a kick for touch. Tony Thornley doing some good work on defence. Today's match ball is kindly donated by Index. There's a whistle for a technical offence. Second penalty of the evening then. Mark has not stood straight. Second penalty of the evening. A goal to the Warrington club. Well, there's a great kick from Jonathan Davis there once again. Applause echoing round this famous old stadium. So John Thursfield activates Gary Chambers, former Kells, from Cumbria, crosses the half. Expect the ball to come our way. Mackie will be involved at some point. There's Roland Phillips. Super tackle upon Phillips from Carl Harrison. Spent time at Featherstone and Hull in his career. Thursfield unloads, regathers. Lee Penny crops up in the line and is promptly bundled into touch. Today's match sponsors are Harris Winsford, who have been associated with the Warrington club for many years. Thanks to them, without their continuing support, top-class rugby league would not be taking place at Wildersfield tonight. So here's our second scrum of the evening to the Halifax club. Big defence midfield, Jonathan Davis involved. Short ball for Gary DeBarty. Immediate whistle for crossing. Correction. Illegal marking. Penalties go 2-1 in favour of the Warrington club. We've got a trainer on the park for something or other. Would assume he's delivering a message. I see no injuries. There's a good kick for touch. Look for Southernwood then to activate the Halifax attacking machine. There's Bishop. Feeds prop Gary Lord. Thursfield in the tackle yet again. There's Bishop, switch play. Gary Devarte shouts for the forward pass. Match official is in agreement. Once again, tonight's match ball donated by Index, and today's match sponsors, Harris Winsford Limited. So, here's our third scrum of the evening. Scrums go 2-1 in favour of the visitors. Malreely's Halifax. Strong run round the base of the scrum. Good defence. That was Mark Preston on the tackle. There's Kelly Shelford. Tackle breaks out midfield, 14 metres short of the half. Long ball unleashed there. Paul Cullen caught in possession. Roland Phillips taking a big shot. That brought a new out from the Brian Bevan stand opposite our commentary position. There's Greg Mackey, Kevin Ellis, Alan Bateman. Bateman takes a high shot right below us. Graham Hollis, ex-Hull KR, on the tackle there. Kick central for Steve Lay. As I've mentioned, he's on loan, so everything to play for him. Defensive chase from the Warrington unit. Well, there's a whistle. Something I missed. Paul Cullen's getting 100 lines in the headmaster's study. We now get the signal for a high tackle. Penalties go 2 apiece. Still no score in the game. We are now within the 9th minute. Kick for touch is successful. Halifax coming here unbeaten would be a good scalp for the Warrington club. I'm sure Mal Reilly would be well pleased if Halifax could force the win. There's Bishop. Bishop looking for runners. Sanderson on the tackle, assisted by Gary Chambers. Southernwood acting half. Here's Carl Harrison. Gary Sanderson gets in a super tackle. Gary Devarte carries the ball 9 metres within the Warrington half. So it's Southernwood for Bishop. Bishop for Hagan. Suspicions of a knock-on. Game's progressing. Hagan feeling the force there. So Southernwood feeds right. That's David Boyd, another Newcastle Knight in the Halifax colours. Bishop's lifted the midfield bomb. Rob Myler takes the ball safe as houses and takes an unnecessary late hit. Match officials quite happy for things to progress. Lee Penny's on the run midfield. Penny has half a yard. Good defensive play from Penny there. Southernwood on the tackle. Here's Chambers. Some of these tackles are starting to get a bit high. Meanwhile, Kevin Ellis is at it midfield. Tremendous effort from Kevin Ellis there. The game is getting hot. There's Cullen unloading. Roland Phillips on the sprint. Dragging defenders with him. Another round of applause goes around Wilderspool. Warrington have stacked deep right. Greg Mackey switches play for Shelford. Touch judge comes in. Flag raised. Warrington on the attack. Well, I said a moment ago the tackles were starting to get a bit borderline. There was, in fact, a bit of an unsocial gathering in last year's league encounter here at Wilderspool. There were also 13 tries, if memory serves. So midfield then, Russ Smith consulted his touch judge far side. It's another penalty for the Warrington club. Penalties go 3-2 in favour of Brian Johnson's men. Jonathan Davis kicks long again. That's one in the car park. Fresh ball on. Thursfield activates Chambers. Charges into the Halifax defensive line. Solid defence meets him, involving just about everybody. Harrison was first there. Here's Greg Mackey. Switch play, it's Roland Phillips. Super tackle upon Phillips there. Warrington with personnel left and right. Ball comes our way. Switch play, it's Kelly Shelford. Excellent tackle, Southernwood. Here's Chambers. Hagan on the tackle. The usual chess game going on. Nothing between the teams. Shelford chips the defence. Super take Mark Preston, who is embattered for his pains. Entertaining rugby league still being played here at Wilderspool. Halifax on the back foot in their own red zone. There's Greg Mackey wearing 7. Mackey, former Sydney and Hull player, spent some time at Illawarra. There's a whistle for offside. Penalties go 3 apiece. 6 penalties now in 12 minutes football. Greg Mackey getting some barracking from the Halifax fans. Sure he'll enjoy that. Here's a ball for our commentary position. I'm looking at Stuart. Maybe he'll head it. Oh, it's one for me. So we will get the restart right underneath our commentary position. That's Southernwood. Gary Lord on the drive. Thursfield on the tackle yet again. He's topped the tackle count every game he's played. Southernwood goes central. Phillips on the tackle. Southernwood again. Gary Devarte leading with the elbow. All parts of professional rugby league these days. Southernwood goes away on the dummy run. Gary Sanderson puts him away. Sanderson, former Thato Heath amateur. There's a big one midfield, David Boyd. It is kick time for the Halifax club then. Bishop lifts a midfield bomb and is dumped by Greg Mackey. Big pressure on Thornley, who takes it brilliantly. Excellent defensive play there. Have another look at that, that's guts fire. Meanwhile, Thursfield activates himself, goes off on a sharp run. Well met by David Boyd. Paul Cullen sprinting hard, well tackled by Gary Lord. 10 metres short of the half, score remains 0-0. Here's Greg Mackey. Unloads a sharp ball, Gary Sanderson took the ball in a double tackle. Ball's come out in the tackle there. So there's the first break in play for the Halifax team. Halifax going hard and central, that's Gary Devarte. Yep. Halifax with the foot on the gas, their supporters cheering loudly. Carl Harrison tackle there. Here's Bishop, switch play. Warrington's defensive line comes up. Devarte looks for the yard. None available. Ball is now within drop goal range. Southernwood's gone away, releases a great ball. Hagan in possession, dragging the defence with him. Super effort, Michael Hagan there. Halifax looking good, a stacked deep left. Bishop unloads for Harrison. Sanderson on the tackle, the ball's out. It's Jonathan Davis at the quarter. There's a let-off there for the Warrington defence. Even Stevens or Halifax were lucky to get the ball. And there's a penalty. The 15th minute. Scrums are 2-1 for Halifax. Penalties 4-3 for Brian Johnson's men. Score remains pointless. So it's Thursfield, Mackey, Phillips. Phillips goes hard, he's met in the tackle by Mark Perrett, wearing 11. Here's Sanderson, cuts inside, makes good yardage running. David Boyd on the tackle, wearing 12. This time it's Warrington applying the pressure with Kelly Shelford, fed Bateman. Super tackle upon Bateman there. Carl Harrison, prop forward, tackling well. It's Greg Mackey, chips in goal. Panic stations in the Halifax defence. Mark Preston clears up. All of that fun and games will result in a drop out from underneath the Halifax bar. Most of their spectators are at that end of the ground. Good to see them dedicated enough to make the long trip on a Monday night after work. Meanwhile, here's Tony Thornley, sprinting hard, beats one defender, cuts inside, almost leaves 2. Warrington regroup then, 5 tackles to go, 15 metres inside the Halifax half. Sanderson takes a tackle there from Southernwood. Here's Chambers. Chambers leaving defenders in his wake. Mark Perrett finally affecting the tackle. Perrett, former Ovenden Rugby League amateur. Meanwhile, Thursfield feeds Greg Mackey for Shelford. Shelford missed out for Ellis. Good running move. Bateman's unloaded. Players overran the ball. Warrington's 3 quarters there look good. Attack came to nothing. While we have a break in play, I'll just inform you about the Wolf Pack, which is in operation here at Wilderspool. If you've got children under the age of 16, one £10 payment, they can come every game. Now compare that to Leeds charging kids a £5 to enter the ground. Meanwhile, the ball's midfield. Super attack from Halifax. Last ditch tackle upon John Bentley there. Here's a short run blindside. It's Graham Hallis. When he left the Hull Kingston Rovers club, the club nearly fell apart. That's what a good player he is. Bishop's unloaded again midfield. Gary Lord charging hard. So it's Southernwood for Bishop, for Hagan. Hagan unloads a good short ball. Still nothing between the teams. Now in the 18th minute. Short side run. David Boyd. Ball's kicked out. Will be a scrum down feed for Halifax. Still nothing between the teams and out there on the field of play. Russ Smith just telling the forwards where he would like them to form. So Bishop feeds. Scrum count goes 3-1 for Halifax. Ball came out in the tackle. Russ Smith waves play on. That is John Bentley, England Rugby Union winger. Spent some time at Leeds Rugby League Football Club before he got to Halifax. Sanderson on the tackle midfield. Copybook tackle upon Gary Lord. There's Divarty once again. Warrington on the back foot. Halifax pressing hard. Here's Bishop for Hagan. For Bishop. Super handling move work there. Meanwhile, tackle breaks out. Paul Cullen on the tackle. Short side run. Halifax moving the ball about super style and can count themselves unlucky to be pulled up there. There you saw one of the reasons why many people are tipping Halifax. They can move the ball like it's a red-hot potato, as they say. Another scrum down. Greg Mackey will feed on this occasion. Scrum should go 3-2. Have just so done. Well, the Warrington attacking unit overrunning the ball again. Greg Mackey's involving himself in the tackle. John Bentley didn't enjoy that little experience too much. Well, Russ Smith has stopped the clock for some reason or another. I think he wants to have a word with somebody. As you can probably imagine, it's the two terriers out there on the park, Bishop and Mackey. They both got yellow cards last year in this fixture. When Warrington went to Halifax, they lost by a point. A Paul Bishop drop goal proved decisive on what was a tragic day for the Warrington club when Phil Sumner broke his leg. However, he's back on the mend. Here's Hagan, unloads for Leigh. Leigh hammered. Lee Penny joins in the party. Well, Steve Leigh there feeling the force. Preston in possession. Penny on the tackle again, assisted by Chambers. 2 tackles gone, no yardage gained. Short side run, Carl Harrison. Southernwood looking to unload. Chambers on the tackle. Warrington's defence is already 200% better than at Odsall. Bishop's unloaded there. Gary Lord. Well, there was a high arm in the tackle. No need for any shenanigans to break out. It was plain enough. One of those reaction things. You throw your arm out. Player wraps himself round it. Russ Smith, as usual, not missing the incident. Penalties go 4 apiece. Still no points on the board. This is kickable. We're just on quarter time. 20 minutes have been played. Paul Bishop electing to kick. Former Warrington player, of course. When Paul Bishop was at Wilderspool, he was a crowd hero. Since he went away, he's become something else. I would say that Bishop is roughly 11 metres inside the Warrington half. The ball is central, there's not a breath of wind, no rain. Perfect conditions, if a little cold down there on the park, for rugby league. So these would be the first 2 points to go on the board in this Stones Bitter Championship game. Wouldn't expect Paul Bishop to miss. Usual barricade coming in from the Fletcher end, where the Happy Wolf Packers are housed. Bishop strikes well. And the score goes on the board, 2-0 in the 21st minute. So there you saw, in the tackle, Roland Phillips was pulled out for the offence. 8th penalty of the evening was converted by Bishop. Score goes Warrington 0, the Halifax club 2. Warrington up quickly on defence as usual. Chambers in the tackle there. Halifax go central, must feel they can outdo the Warrington forwards. We'll have to wait and see about that one. There's Ellis in the tackle, assisted by Shelford. Short side one is Harrison again. Shelford in the tackle once more. After the not so brilliant New Zealand performance on Saturday, Kelly Shelford can't be far off a call. Warrington dropping back to 10. It is kick time for the Halifax club. Mark Perrott playing the ball there. Bishop goes left-footed. Well, that came off a Warrington player. Match official incurring the wrath of the crowd. He is in fact correct, there's no doubt about it. Another break for the Halifax club. Here's Hagan. Unloads a great ball for Graham Hallis. Hallis is then hammered by Alan Bateman and Kelly Shelford right below us. Hagan feeds inside for Steve Lay. Super tackle upon him. John Thursfield yet again. Here's Bishop. Halifax looking dangerous. Kyle Harrison goes central. It's Southernwood for Bishop. Bishop unloads for David Boyd. Boyd goes central. Unloads a great ball for Gary Lord. Halifax are starting to call the shots. It is kick time now for the Thrum Haulers. Paul Bishop's kick high left. Rob Myler needs to take possession. It's a bit of bagatelle. Russ Smith waves play on. Well, that was a hair's breadth escape there for the Warrington defence. Meanwhile, Myler's on the run. Bishop comes in hard and high. Usual cheer comes out from the Fletcher end when Bishop's involved. There's Paul Cullen. 13 full seasons in the First Division. Well, the atmosphere turning itself up a few notches here at Wilderspool. There's Gary Chambers. Fighting hard, what an effort. Everybody involved in the tackle. Gary Lord had the biggest piece of it. Chambers gets up somewhat slowly, looks to have picked up a knock to his left shin. Meanwhile, Davis is working his magic, looking to create room for the kick. Fires off a torpedo bomb. Steve Lay will have to field, turns and looks, and sets off. Mark Preston takes possession. Ellis is up on the chase. Halifax have got other ideas. Look at this for rugby league. Tremendous play there. Bit of argy-bargy in that. Well, match officials blown his whistle and awarded the penalty. For me, the game was going along quite nicely there. We've just seen a good kick and a good chase. Whatever. As I've said, Russ Smith is as good as referees get. And you can make your own mind up about that. Graham Hallis wearing 4. Will kick for touch. 4 or 5 metres picked up from the boots of Hallis there. I will recap. We are now in the 26th minute. It's 0-2 and it's hard. Tackle breaks out a metre shy of the half. Here's Paul Bishop once again. Carl Harrison. Bateman on the tackle. Southernwood's away. Mackey knocks the ball out. It's 6 more tackles, I believe. Crunch tackle below us, Kelly Shelford. Here's Devata. Here's Boyd. Paul Cullen turns up, puts an end to the run. Correction, it was Kelly Shelford. Here's Hagan, who's had an outstanding first half. Lee Penny called into action. Penny looks at Hagan, takes the tackle, keeps the ball tied in, no risk taken. There's Mackey, throws left. Thornley. Evades a high shot. Well, you only need 2 or 3 of them and everybody will start. Meanwhile, there's Roland Phillips. Phillips is looking for a yard on the wing. Mackey organising the troops. Thursfield's gone. Solo run, opposite number. Roy Southernwood, ex-Castleford, puts a stop to that. Here's Mackey once again. Kelly Shelford. Alan Bateman. Bateman looks at Myler. Myler takes the pass. And a high-ish tackle. Everything's borderline. That's an opinion. Fact is, it's kick time. Davis takes the ball well. Kicks long. Bentley underneath the ball, tidies up no problem. Ellis in the tackle. Ball goes midfield, it's Paul Bishop. Ellis at Bishop, he's unloaded for Steve Lay. What a tackle, have a look at that, crash tackle, Tony Thornley. Here's Bishop again. Ball's gone midfield, Sanderson in the tackle. Gary Lord feeling the force on this occasion. Here's Carl Harrison. Shelford's at him. Nobody's looked like putting the ball behind the whitewash at this point. Here's Hagan trying to engineer an opening. Greg Mackey's at him. So Southernwood activates Bishop. He's chipped the defence. Kick looks too long from here. They'll roll out harmlessly. Bit of an option wasted there for the Halifax team. Wonderful sight here at Wilderspool under the lights. Always intensifies the action for the Speckies. There's Shelford tackle. Here's Chambers. Chambers battling hard, finally put away by Southernwood. Look for Mackey to instigate the runners. Mackey for Roland Phillips. Phillips well hit by David Boyd. Absorbing rugby league being put on show for you at the moment. Still need a length of the field job to wake everybody up. There's Ellis midfield. Kevin Ellis for Thursfield for Sanderson. Sanderson breaks the half. Hagan involved in the tackle with Gary Devarte. Thursfield, Davis lifts a midfield bomber. That's gone up 200 feet. Huge pressure on Steve Lay. He's overrun the ball. Finally has possession and goes. Will Russ Smith give 6 more tackles? Russ Smith will not. Wonderful attacking option unveiled there. So Halifax on the back foot in their own red zone. Wonderful game to enjoy. Spectators here getting full value for money. There's Sanderson. Ball comes our way. That's Gary Lord. Lord should have been penalised for the play the ball, wasn't. Southernwood's unloaded. There's a knock-on. Advantage for the Warrington club. Well, there's a lucky bounce. 99% of tries come from lucky bounces. Are we going to see one now? Roland Phillips is away. Warrington stacked deep right. There's Greg Mackey. Kelly Shelford. Shelford looking to bust the advantage line, has done so. Warrington now then, stacked deep left. It will be Alan Bateman for Greg Mackey. Mackey looks in field, cuts, switches play, feeds Bateman again. Bateman evading defenders left and right. Tackles being used up, yardage not being picked up. Here's Mackey, Kevin Ellis. Warrington with the overlap, Jonathan Davis. Lee Penny's turned up, here's Thornley. Thornley well policed, three defenders at him there. I'm looking for a kick time sign. It has not been forthcoming. Roland Phillips goes hard central. Brilliant defence from the Halifax club. You couldn't ask for... Well, there's a try. I must confess to being a bit bamboozled with that. Roland Phillips there. Nobody was marking him. He crosses in the 30th minute to make the score. 4 points to 2. Well, there you saw it on your screen. I had just been complimenting the Halifax defence on a marvellous effort, but as usual, once the commentator speaks, the other thing happens. Everybody ran away, left Roland Phillips to play the ball. Didn't need 2 invitations, played it to himself, crashed over in the 30th minute, making the score. Warrington 4, Halifax 2. So all of that fun and games will result in Jonathan Davis, 22 metres out, maybe 11 metres in, breathless here at Wilderspool. Jonathan Davis, invaluable 2 points if he can convert, strikes well, the points are on the board, Score goes Warrington 6, Halifax 2. So, here's Paul Bishop restarting with Halifax finding themselves 4 points down thanks to that opening try of the game from Rowan Phillips. Here's Cullen. I believe Halifax have sneaked a sub on. I didn't see that occur. Lee Harland wearing 15, Great Britain under 21 international. Here's on the park. Don't know who went away. Well, there's a comedy play. Graham Hallis takes advantage. Everybody's on the tackle. Warrington do not look as though they're going to give away an easy win for the visitors tonight. Here's Hagan. Beats John Schuster, another Newcastle Knight. Schuster battered at the quarter line. Bit of abuse coming in from the popular side, don't know what that's about. Hagan goes midfield for Gary Lord. Brilliant tackle, Gary Sanderson. Southernwood activates Harrison. What a game of rugby league. Southernwood unloads once more. Halifax looking to prize the opening. Greg Mackey tidying up and takes a battering in the tackle. No need whatsoever for Greg Mackey to be stamped on there. Whatever, Russ Smith, he's in charge, nothing doing. Penalties go 5 apiece. Scrums presently, 3-2 for Halifax. Score remains 6-2 for Brian Johnson's Warrington. There's another ball for Stewart on cameras. Now it's nipped in front of us. A healthily full Wilderspool Stadium here tonight. Monday night game. Roland Phillips, try-scoring hero, creating yards out of nothing. All the happy Wolfpackers enjoying this game. Here's Sanderson. Super tackle upon Sanderson there from Carl Harrison. It's Thursfield for Chambers. Chambers hard and central, looks to unload. Super tackle Lee Harland, smothering the ball. Thursfield again, options disappearing for him. Unloads for Roland Phillips, the ball's following him about. Dave Boyd on the tackle. Tackle's being used up then. Will we see a kick lifted midfield? Short side run, Kelly Shelford chips the defence. Pressure for Steve Lane, does a super job. I don't know what that's about. I'm not sure what's gone on there. I just cannot understand the break in play. Unfortunately, we have an injury to Steve Lane. Showed immense courage in taking the ball. Still can't figure out why Russ Smith's blown up, unless there was a signal coming in from the touch judge. Stewart thinks it's for offside. So that's probably what it was. Once again, thanks to Match Ball donors, Index, and today's match sponsors, Harris Winsford Limited. So after all that, it's another penalty for the Halifax club. Penalties go 6-5 for the visitors. Brilliant tackle midfield, Gary Chambers. Bishop's unloaded for Carl Harrison. Harrison, one of those players that every coach in the country would like to have on his books. Bishop once again. Halifax looking nippy. Here's Devarte. Well put away. Bishop. There's Sub. Lee Harland. John Thursfield on the tackle. Southernwood again. Blind side run. Halifax have got the space. Last-ditch defence there. Tony Thornley. Bishop again. Goes left-footed. Midfield bomb. Lee Penny being called into action. Feels the ball super style. And says bye-bye. Lee Penny still going. Tremendous effort from him. Delicately poised game here at Wilderspool Stadium for you to enjoy. Southernwood on the tackle there. Bit of argy-bargy again. Russ Smith decided he's cold, so he'll blow the whistle. It's another penalty for the Warrington club. Penalties go 6 apiece. We have now had 12 penalties. Let's have a look. In 37 minutes of football. Davis goes long. Here's a restart. That is Gary Chambers. Rampaging midfield, taking on everybody. Russ Smith needs to get a bit closer to some of these tackles. He's there to shout Eldon, prevent that sort of thing happening. However, here's Paul Cullen. Cullen disappears under David Boyd. Sanderson. Sanderson's gone. Sanderson sprints hard. What a run there from the second row forward. Hagan effecting the tackle. Here's Mackey looking for a yard. Takes a solid hit from Gary Lord. Ball goes infield. Here's Kevin Ellis. Kelly Shelford almost busting the line. Shelford still alive. Referee had not shouted help, much to the disgust of the Halifax contingent. Lots of shoving off the ball. Well, Russ Smith there. Sort of a grey area, had he or hadn't he? Whatever. Alan Bateman on the tackle. Graham Hallis caught him in possession. Well, that's a ridiculous penalty decision there. I don't believe that. However, I am not here to castigate referees, but if that was a penalty, I'm Japanese. However, it's for the advantage of the Warrington club. Well, penalty count now, 7-6 in favour of the Warrington club. If Jonathan Davis is successful, the score will go 8-2, would put Warrington a full score in front. Russ Smith is closer to the action than I am, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but it looks a little bit harsh to me. Halifax supporters then commence the slow hand clap. I still haven't figured out who's left the park for Halifax. Russ Smith stopping the clock. Jonathan Davis never rushes himself. But when you consider that the whole Stones Bitter Championship was decided last year on points difference, that's how important penalties can be. Davis then, long kick, 27 metres out, 14 metres to the right as he looks, strikes the ball and pushes it wide right. Well, for me, personally, justice was done. So, after that, we will get the restart from the quarter line. We are now in injury time in the first half in the Stones Bitter game. Score is 6-2 for the home team. Brian Johnson's Warrington. Lee Penny has possession. Looks for the yard, unable to find it. Howland on the tackle. Bit of afters again. Game has threatened to boil up once or twice. Here's Paul Cullen. Super run Paul Cullen midfield there. Divarty on the tackle. Roland Phillips taking a highish shot once again. They don't seem to bother him. Still going, breaks the half. What an effort. Tremendous effort from Roland Phillips there. Phillips in the team because of the long-term injury for Jackson. News for the Warrington supporters. Club skipper Bob Jackson out till Christmas. Alan Bateman takes a good tackle from Divarty there. Burstfield for Mackey. It's Chambers. Unloads for Greg Mackey. Mackey unloads for Shelford. This looks good. Jonathan Davis. Well, overlap was there. Half-time hooter comes with the score after a brilliant first half. Warrington 6 and Halifax 2 after Phillips' only try at the first half in the 30th minute. Right, here we go for the second half. Half-time score reading 6-2, thanks to club sponsors Greenhalghs, match sponsors Harris Winsford, and the match ball kindly donated by Index. There is the restart from Paul Bishop. Shea coming out from the Halifax support. Warrington coming out then, straight away in possession. It's a run midfield. Paul Cullen, the ball's come out in the tackle. Match officials right there, it's another penalty. So there's an immediate penalty straight away in the second half. The penalty counts, goes 8-6 in favour of the Warrington club. Just the one try up to now in the 30th minute from Roland Phillips. Bit of debate in the commentary box about whether he was marked or not. Referee give the try, he was not marked. So there's a run midfield then, ball comes out, Kevin Ellis, there's a knock on. Alan Bateman unable to take the pass there. Scrum count presently, 3-2 in favour of Halifax. Warrington subs tonight, Gregory and Teetsall. May well be seeing them called into the fray before long. Here come Halifax, however, Bateman on the tackle. That's John Schuster, former Newcastle Knight, in possession. Davis on defence. Thornley finishing off the tackle. Ball goes midfield through Bishop. Gary Lord wearing 10. Crash tackle, Gary Sanderson. Sanderson round like a flash again. Bit of umpty in midfield, game's progressing. Tackle breaks out at the half. Halifax coming out well fired up. Here's Bishop. Bishop gets in a good kick. Touch judge, far side, raises his flag, indicates the advantage for the Warrington club. Russ Smith trots across, has words. If the ball went out, touch judge is there to raise the flag. Once again though, game progressing. Advantage will go to Halifax. Well, there's a break for the Halifax club. They should have a set of 6 from within running range. There's a break midfield, Graham Harless. Brilliant tackle there, try-saving tackle from Greg Mackey. Halifax pressing hard. Back foot defence. The ball is in the red zone. Short side run, it's Hagan. Long pass for the flying winger. He strolls in. John Bentley puts the ball down for the Halifax club in the 42nd minute. Well, there you saw the error, or was it an error, with the pick-up on the touchline. The scrum resulted. Couple of tackles midfield. John Bentley was well fed by Michael Hagan, romped in untouched, making the score all square 6-6. So here we have the restart. Jonathan Davis. Bishop unable to convert. We are now in 44th minute. The score's 6 apiece. What a game. Chambers on the tackle there. Halifax within the red zone. Ball goes central. Sanderson on the tackle. Devorty tackled. There's Carl Harrison. Harrison sprinting hard midfield. Southernwood sets up play. Goes short side. That's Gary Lord attacking the half. Brilliant tackle, Alan Bateman. So here's Bishop, Southernwood. Wish these players wouldn't wear scrum caps, or at least have them numbered, or paint them pink or something. Anyway, game's progressing. Bishop will kick left-footed into the pocket. Rob Myler, far side. Former Widnes St Marie's amateur on the run. Well met in the tackle. Ball goes midfield, it's Lee Penny. Devorty on the tackle then, scores 6 apiece, 1 try apiece for both the clubs out there. Chambers drafting hard midfield, Carl Harrison puts him away. Thursfield waits for the play the ball. Here's Paul Cullen. Cullen picking up good yards in the engine room. Thursfield will throw for Greg Mackey. Mackey looks at Shelford. Shelford releases Lee Penny. Crash tackle right below us. John Schuster. Lee Penny feeling the force. Shelford for Mackey. Mackey lifts a midfield kick. Splits the fullback and the wingman. That is Mark Preston over there, former Wigan player. In possession. Defensive chase is good. Tackle effected. 3 metres shy of the quarter line. Chambers on the tackle. Halifax speeding play up. Play the balls are being got through really quickly now at Wilderspool. Tackles being used up. Ball goes midfield. That is David Boyd. Southernwood sets up the play. Boyd's took a knock. Russ Smith is deciding to let the player ride in agony. There's a short side run. Ball makes a half. Boyd remains down. I believe it is, in fact, his right forearm that's took the knock. Here's Bishop, everybody's favourite at Wilderspool. Kicks into the pocket again. Midway inside the Warrington red zone. Greg Mackey will feed for the Warrington club. Warrington running away with the scrum count at this point. There is a hold-up at the scrum. Waiting for David Boyd, now happily recovered. Having a big evening here at Wilderspool. Expect the scrum count to go 5-2 on my count, which isn't the most accurate in the world. It's a run midfield. Warrington regroup then, score once again. Reminder, 6 apiece, don't leave your screen, it's a cracker. There's Paul Cullen. Well hit by Gary Lord. Thursfield charges from acting half. Clearing runs at this point in this Warrington attack. That's Sanderson. Kelly Shelford, check the defence. John Bentley, try scorer. Does a great job. Takes and goes. Mackey on the tackle. Southernwood throws inside for Lee Harland. Super tackle again, Greg Mackey. Balls with John Bentley. Man who played on the wing for England Rugby Union. Greg Mackey doing some sterling work on defence. Halifax then looking to cross the half. Rowan Phillips gets a knock in. The ball does not make the half. Ball will go through Paul Bishop. There's Michael Hagan. John Schuster looks a class act. Kelly Shelford, another class act. Jonathan Davis, unable to take the ball. Russ Smith waits a while. Looking for advantage, there was none. 4 points went begging there. Kelly Shelford showed his awareness. Now we have some sort of power failure at Wilderspool Stadium. It's gone dark, ma'am. Well, I've seen many things on rugby league grounds, but I've never seen this. You often hear the spectators shouting to the halfbacks that they're always in the dark. Now everybody's in the dark. My cameraman, Stuart Wilson, now he stopped giggling, trying to show you the stand on the far side. 50% of the floodlights in, has packed up. Getting delicately balanced. I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to stop it. So please remember that when I'm telling you how far we are in the game. According to my watch, we're in the 49th minute. I'll look to my left. There's a member of the Rugby League Council, and I will ask him, what is the rule? How many minutes have to be played, John, for the result to stand?
The result will have to stand.
It would have to stand as it is now, John?
Yes, that's right.
Well, there's the words of a member of the Rugby League Council, John Oakes. Well, I'm informed there that the result would have to stand. So, from a Warrington point of view, 10 quid for the man who pulled the fuse out. Well, everybody, as you can see, about 95% lighting, severe disruption to the players' match rhythm. They've got to come back, hit it, get straight back where he was. I'll look round the gantry and see if anybody knows where the ball was, what was happening when the lights went out. I believe we've got a scrum to come. A scrum to come. Away to our left in the Halifax quarter. Coaching staff won't have found that amusing interlude very funny at all. As the players come out, we have in fact been absent here at Wilderspool for roughly 20 minutes. We have played 49 minutes. We have 31 minutes play to go. It is now 9:30. We're looking at a 10 o'clock finish. And my wife's going to believe me when I say, I'm sorry, love, the lights failed, isn't she? Whatever. It is to be hoped we don't get any repetition of that. I'll look to restart the onboard computer. Score remains 6 apiece. The scrum is forming. The scrum count presently, on my count, is 5-2 for Brian Johnson's man. We're back live, we have action at a floodlit Wilderspool Stadium. That scrum went to Mal Reilly's visitors. Big run midfield. Russ Smith spotted something. That will be a penalty to Halifax. The penalty count now goes 8-7 in favour of Brian Johnson's men. Well, I've been knocking about pro rugby league grounds for too many years. First time I've been there when that's happened. Got a crunch game on. There comes Gary Lord. 2 Stones Bitter championship points still up for grabs. There's Bishop, unloads for Carl Harrison. Halifax were, I think it's fair to say, in the ascendancy in the second half here at Wilderspool. There's a big run, Lee Harlan, wearing 15. Mackey's at him in the tackle. Halifax pressing hard, it's David Boyd. Took a big knock, happily recovered, he's having a big evening. Bishop, drop goal. Successful. Paul Bishop drops a goal there in the 51st minute. Well, as I said earlier in this commentary, a Bishop drop goal was the difference between the two teams at Thrum Hall last year. We'll have to wait and see. Has he done it again tonight here at Wilderspool Stadium? Once again, thanks to match sponsors, Harris Winsford, Match Ball Donation Index. Main club sponsors, Greenhalghs. Game's underway. Bishop once again. Score now 6-7 in favour of the visitors. Halifax deep in their own red zone. Warrington on defence. Feature of their game in recent weeks has been pressure defence, forcing errors. Warrington's defensive unit trying to effect that same reaction right now. There's a big run midfield, super cover defence. Halifax supporters enjoying the trip so far. Still a long way to go in this game. Bishop midfield, forward-looking ball for Carl Harrison. Looks to unload. Paul Cullen puts a stop to that. Warrington dropping back the required 10. Bishop kicks. Left-footed midfield. Here's Lee Penny. Sprinting hard. Cuts inside. Is well tackled by Gary Devarty. Now in the 52nd of 80. Once again, Warrington 6, Halifax 7. It's Mackey. Kevin Ellis. Looks to have some sort of a medical dressing on his forehead. Might have got cuts. Hagan on the tackle there. Thursfield, Chambers. Huge hit upon Chambers. Jonathan Davis. Well bottled up by John Schuster. Thursfield acting half. Here's Paul Cullen. Cuts back on the slant. Picks up big yardage with defenders hanging on. Michael Hagan on the tackle there. Look for Greg Mackey. Will go to the boot. Kicks long and left. Steve Lay will have to field the ball. Mackey's there first on the chase. Kelly Shelford. What an effort. It was said at Wembley on Saturday, kicks are only as good as a chase, and that's just illustrated the point. Warrington again, showing you their power defence. There's the Wilderspool Road. Warrington a point down. Jonathan Davis gets involved on defensive duties. Halifax finding it hard to make yards. Harrison caught in possession. Thursfield finished off the job. Short run, it's Southernwood. Triple tackled, involving Mackey, Bateman, Cullen and Thursfield. Bishop goes to the boot again. Paul Bishop, not everybody's favourite player, but a master tactician. Here's Lee Penny, looks for a yard, cuts inside. He's tackled, 9 metres shy of the half. Graham Hallis on the tackle. Here's Sanderson, fighting for the half, unable to get there. Devarty on the tackle. Freezing cold here in the ozone layer at Wilderspool Stadium. There's Gary Chambers midfield. 1 yard inside the Halifax half. 1 point between the teams. Time ticking by. Lee Penny's in the line again. 54th of 80 on the clock. Score on the door, 6-7. There's Kevin Ellis. Roland Phillips feeds inside for Jonathan Davis. Davis goes. Davis is surrounded. Puts in the chip kick. This would be a try and a half. Jonathan Davis gets there. Have another look at that. One of the tries of the season. What a player. Well, there you saw Roland Phillips took the ball, he crossed the half, sucks in defenders. The ball ended up with Jonathan Davis. You're seeing the replay on the screen. He beat one man, he beat two. He was surrounded by 3 or 4 defenders. He kicked over the defence, raced in goal, got the touchdown for a spectacular try that's warmed up everybody here at Wilderspool Stadium. Score goals, Warrington 10, Halifax 7. Well, what a try that was. Davis unable to convert. Warrington have a 3-point lead. The game stands 10-7. We're in the 56th of 80. Halifax then on defence. Warrington looking to press home the advantage. Halifax getting up, how shall I phrase this, miraculously quickly. There's Roland Phillips. Had a hand in that try that you've just been thrilled by from Jonathan Davis. Sanderson will carry the ball midfield. Not much yardage being picked up. The Halifax defence has been marvellous. Here's Chambers, correction. Davis will generate the space for the kick. Supplies a rangefinder, comes down midfield. Bit of a job for Steve Lay. Bouncing awkwardly for him, he completes the job. Ellis and Mackey, look at this. Have a look at that again. You've seen brilliant attack with the Davis try. That's brilliant defence from Mackey and Ellis. Meanwhile, Halifax struggling to put passes together. I keep terming this swarming, rampant defence, pressure defence, because that is exactly what it is. Gary Lord wearing 10, battered midfield. Warrington supporters must think they're dreaming after the darkness. We have brilliance. Southernwood unloads. That's Carl Harrison sprinting. Warrington up quickly in the tackle. It is kick time for Halifax. They took the ball in the quarter, have not made the half. Lee Penny called into operation again. Penny looks at Hagan, takes a bit of a rough tackle. Here's Kevin Ellis. Rob Myler had a quiet night so far. He's about to liven things up. John Bentley puts an end to the run. Here's Tony Thornley, hungry for the ball, hungry for work. Fights for the half, makes it like a forward. Tremendous effort there. Here's the balance in this game, tilting Warrington's way. Here's Gary Chambers. Russ Smith spots 4 or 5 Halifax defensive men yards offside. Davis will put 2 points on the board. Well, what better advert for professional rugby league? If, as the viewer of this Micron tape, you've never been to a rugby league ground, if you don't go after watching a game like this, you never will. I'll just mark that penalty down. Got a bit carried away there. The penalty count now reads 9-7 in favour of Brian Johnson's men. It's a long-range penalty attempt, fairly central. Davis will find himself maybe 13 metres inside the Halifax half. 7 or 8 metres to the right of the post as he looks. Warrington going about their business the hard way, being most effective and most forceful on defence. Brian Johnson sets a lot of store by defence. It is the foundation for wins in the Stones Bitter Championship. Warrington have 2 losses on their league record. I reckon 6 losses puts the team out of contention for the league championship. That's how important tonight's game is. So Davis then approaches. Priceless 2 points if he should be successful. Davis misses wide left. Score remains Warrington 10, Halifax 7. The clock tells me we are in the final quarter of the game. 60 of 80 played. Once again, here's Lee Penny. The defensive chase has been good. Penny attacks the half, gets there. Super efforts. This game still in the balance. The commentator's tenner's staying in his pocket. Wouldn't like to put it on either team. There's Gary Sanderson disappearing. Now then, Greg Mackey. Roland Phillips goes central. Roland Phillips now well established, crowd favourite at Wilderspool after his time in the wilderness. Greg Mackey dumped after the kick. Russ Smith not interested. Paul Cullen on the tackle. So it's the percentage game now for the Warrington club. Work your hearts out on defence, supply the kicks in possession. There's yet another example of pushing the tackler back. Here's Carl Harrison to try and instigate a Halifax attack. The ball is at the quarter line. The last full set of 6 Halifax had. They didn't break the half. Can Warrington keep them to it again? Bit of a roar coming in from the popular side. Don't know what went on. We've got a bit of argy-bargy comedy play resulting in. To be honest, I don't know what that's for. Well, Paul Bishop's having a yak. That's not a shock, is it? It's a penalty for the Warrington club. Penalties go 10-7 in favour of Brian Johnson's men. I'm not so sure that Davis should try the conversion. He isn't. He's going to kick for touch. The clock's playing an important part in this game now. 18 minutes to go. Thursfield will activate Gary Chambers. A converted score for the Warrington club now would enable them to feel confident. Here's Phillips. Huge roar coming out from the Fletcher end. Phillips refusing to die, unloads. It's Ellis. Davis. Davis is going midfield, well tackled. Gary Lord on the tackle. Feel we may see a kick here from Greg Mackey. I'll see if I'm right. He switches play for Ellis. Takes it well at third slip. Maybe worth a drop goal. I don't know what's going to be coming next. Greg Mackey, options disappearing. Phillips takes the ball stood still. Thursfield unloads for Kevin Ellis. Ellis will take the tackle. Russ Smith still not giving the kick time sign. Don't know how many tackles we've had. Seems to be more than 4 to me. However, here's Chambers. Head down central. Harrison on the tackle. Now it is kick time. Surely it's a drop goal attempt. Only 3 points in the game. Davis with the time and space. Supplies and misses. That single effort there, I don't know how much those blokes in the blue and yellow jerseys are getting paid, but that single effort putting the Halifax player in goal tells me that their wages are not enough. Paul Bishop will restart from under his own crossbar. Kicks long and central. Mackey's got his eye on it. Lee Penny's across. Tony Thornley gathers. Powerful running winger. Crosses the half. Takes a high shot. What a brilliant game of rugby league. Here's Lee Penny. Cuts. Finds a yard. Devorty turns up late on the tackle. Ball comes our way. It's Kelly Shelford. Takes a robust shot in the tackle, shall we say, from Gary Lord. Halifax trying every trick in the book to disrupt the Warrington rhythm. Your commentator, absolutely loving this game. Thursfield's gone from acting half. Here's Phillips, has Thornley available. Phillips keeps it in. Phillips unloads. Thursfield generates a yard. Ellis cuts and goes into the Halifax red zone. It is kick time. Mackey's making signals to the troops. It is kick time. Davis, a hurried kick, has lifted the bomb. Everybody's come in. Super take, Steve Lay. What an effort from him. He is on loan. Well, if his performance tonight is anything to go by, the contract should be offered. Mal Reilly and Brian Johnson will be sitting in their respective seats. Should think their blood pressures are taking a battering at this point. Everybody's performing magnificently out there on the pitch. All 26 players, the match officials on top of his game. The fans are being well and truly entertained, absorbing stages. Lee Ireland making a yard there, once again a full set of 6. Halifax not making the half. Bishop supplies the kick. It's repetitive, but it's exciting stuff. Here's Lee Penny. Hallis on the tackle. Lee Penny's coughed the ball up. Halifax, well, there's a break for them. Can they build on that? A set of 6. 12 metres inside the Warrington half. Here's Michael Hagan. Has Schuster available. Hagan takes the tackle. Paul Cullen's on the job. Well, I'll have a look at the clock. 65 of 80 played. 15 to go. There's a penalty. Somewhat debatable. Anyway, if Russ Smith says a penalty, that's what it is. Penalties go 10-8. That penalty was in fact given by the touch judge on this side below us. Things are threatening to get a little bit hot again in midfield. Halifax spurning the 2 points. They may regret that. Huge roar comes out from the wonderful travelling Halifax support. Southernwood activates Gary Lord. Lord disappears under a 3-man tackle. Bags of time in the game. That's Carl Addison going central. 3 points in the game, 10-7. What a cracker. Hagan unloads. Warrington have defensive men across. Hagan in possession again. Don't look away for a second, anything could happen. Halifax have not stacked deep. It's a condensed attack, if there is such a thing. Carl Addison rampaging central. I'm looking for a kick sign from the referee. It's not forthcoming. Bishop's unloaded for Hagan. For Schuster. Fullback Steve Lace turned up in attack. No, it is kick time. Look for a delicate chip in goal. Supplied by Hagan. It is panic stations in the defence. There's a knock-on from a Warrington player who was definitely being pushed. 6 more, 10 yards. Halifax in the ascendancy. Paul Bishop cuts and goes. Paul Bishop is battered. Tremendous rugby league being played now on attack and defence. Southernwood's unloaded anywhere. There's sub Lee Harland. Finds its way to Steve Lay. He's done everything but scored a match-winning try. He's trying to do that now. John Schuster goes central. Tremendous rugby league once again. I can't praise this enough. It's Southernwood for Bishop. Bishop for Hagan. Hagan throws the dummy and coughs it up. Much needed respite in the Warrington defence there. Gotta feel sorry for the Halifax attacking machine. They tried every trick in the book. Entertaining rugby league, Stones Bitter Championship style. So Warrington then with a chance to get a breath. Jonathan Davis is having a breather. Warrington player looks to have picked up an injury to his, let's figure it out, left leg. After all that fun and games, we'll consult the clock. 68 of 80, less than 12 to go. Score remains 10-7. Tries for Warrington from Phillips and Davis, 2 Welshmen. Try for Halifax from Bentley. Just a 3 in the game. Well, things are definitely starting to get a little bit niggly. Russ Smith awards another penalty to the Warrington club. Penalties go 11-8 for Warrington. Scrum count is on my sheet 5-3 for the wire. Jonathan Davis stitches 25 yards onto the penalty. Needless penalty given away by the Halifax team there. Here's Chambers. Head down central. Southernwood in the tackle. Don't forget what I said at the start of this tape. Halifax are unbeaten this far in. Kelly Shelford. Almost away. It's grit and determination at all times from all the players. Mackey delays the pass for Lee Penny. Penny cuts. Super tackle John Schuster. Mackey organising the troops. Halifax up on defence. Mackey cuts and goes. Hit hard. Hit fair by Gary Lord. John Thursfield acting hard. Here's Roland Phillips. Roland Phillips is going central. Super effort Phillips there. Kick time for the Warrington club. I would hope a drop goal will be stitched on here. The extra point would mean Halifax had to score a try. Greg Mackey's wide right. 6 seconds and 10 minutes left in this brilliant game at Wilderspool. Looking round Wilderspool, I would estimate the crowd. The commentator's eye would put it at 6,000. Graham Hallis, tackle there. All the happy Wolfpackers enjoying every minute of this. Big run midfield, Carl Harrison. Have a thought for Carl Harrison and Jonathan Davis. 2 games in 2 days, and then turn up an effort like this. Look at that for a tackle from Greg Mackey. Big tackle right in front of us in this marvellous scene at Wilderspool Stadium now. Here's Paul Bishop. Halifax still not crossed the half. Plenty of passes, plenty of running onto the ball. Here's Gary Lord. Rampaging central. Tremendous tackle, Gary Sanderson. Lord playing the ball. Here's Hagan going to the boot. Kicks into the pocket. Lee Penny must be given 10. Takes the ball. Turns and looks. Hagan's there first on the chase. Penny takes the tackle. Well, this is a video that I will watch time and time again when I get home. Here's Thornley, almost committing the cardinal sin. keeping hold of the ball. Harrison on the tackle. I'm starting to think about man of the match for both teams. Here's Paul Cullen, tackled at the quarter line. Everybody concentrating hard on the terraces now in case they missed something. Here's Roland Phillips. Roland Phillips rampaging. Look at that for an effort. Carl Harrison's put a stop to it. But that's gritting your teeth and earning your money. Russ Smith doesn't want to shout held. Time being used up. Here's Chambers. Gary Chambers picking up good meters. This time Warrington aren't making the half after a full set. Davis looks to make the yards. My heart was in my mouth there. He finally does supply the kick. Dissects the winger and the full-back. Mark Preston shepherds the ball out. Well, I tell you what, everybody up here on the gantry, several film crews are here, are remarking upon what a splendid game of rugby league this is. You sit back and enjoy it. Here's Hagan. Sanderson on the tackle. Southernwood, Gary Lord. Ellis on the tackle with Greg Mackey. Mackey's tackling tonight has been absolutely tremendous. Southernwood feeds Bishop. Well, there's a knock on. I will not take the opportunity to laugh at the Halifax team. They're supplying 100% efforts, but is the bounce of the ball starting to go Brian Johnson's team's way? 7 minutes, repeat, 7 minutes to go. Score reads 10-7. This game has had everything. Top-class attack, top-class defence, floodlight failures, debatable penalties, decisions, handling errors, the lot. Well, there's Paul Bishop again. I don't like to have a go at rugby league players, but I think somebody needs to take Paul Bishop away and tell him, when your team's in possession or about to get possession and you commit a foul, it is not a good idea. Whatever. Penalties again in favour of the Warrington club, 12-8. Paul Bishop's been playing the game for long enough now to know that niggling, just ridiculous. Jonathan Davis will try and put 2 points on the board. I'm looking at the Warrington bench. I believe Craig Teitzel is warming up. Not sure who will be leaving the park for the Warrington club. There is activity on the bench, however. Jonathan Davis getting on with his free-kicking routine. We're now in the 73rd minute. To Davis then, he has missed 1 or 2 kicks tonight. He has been successful so far, just the once. A conversion in the 31st minute. Difficult kick, 10 metres in, 32 metres out once again. No wind, no rain. Davis strikes well. The crowd like it. The crowd go wild. Warrington now lead 12 points to 7 in the 74th minute. Well, I must emphasise there is less than a converted score in the game. For all the fun and games we've had, all the excitement, less than 6 minutes to go, but less than 6 points in the game. Whichever team are to go off this field here tonight pointless, you'd have to feel sorry for them. Everybody's performed absolute miracles in all departments. Whatever, Kevin Ellis has gone away from acting half. Carl Harrison supplies an extremely robust hit in the tackle. There's Sanderson, has worked tirelessly, as usual. Kelly Shelford will not take the ball. There's Jonathan Davis. Lifts a large and long kick central. Super take Steve Lay. Lay unloads for his wingman. Farley's got in. Bentley takes the tackle. Bentley scored a super try in the 42nd minute. Here's Bishop, throws midfield, that's Gary Devarte. Hagan's unloaded, the bounce of the ball is going Warrington's way. Here's Welsh international Alan Bateman. Well, I've got to say it, look, he's starting to run Warrington's way, but they've earned it. Greg Mackey, Tony Thorley hits the ball, hard, drags the defence with him. Bishop on the tackle, Hagan on the tackle. Mackey looks for options, finds Thursfield. Nothing doing there. Clock running down. Less than 4 minutes. Repeat, less than 4 minutes in the game now. Kelly Shelford's broken the quarter line. He's tackled by Paul Bishop. It must be a drop goal. It's got to be to put a full score in the game. Warrington keeping it with the big men. Roland Phillips goes hard central. Thinks about unloading. Kyle Harrison puts a stop to that. It is kick time. Davis is back in possession. The point would make the game safe. The point is successful in the 37th minute. Well, there we have it. That drop goal from Jonathan Davis in the 77th minute puts a full score in the game. I still get the feeling this time for plenty of drama at Wilderspool. Roland Phillips has been outstanding as usual. Well tackled there by Gary Lord. Here's Sanderson. I'm still thinking about a man of the match for both teams. Everybody's been performing well. I think for the Halifax team, one of the outstanding players for me has been Michael Hagan. He's been trying to instigate the attacking moves. There's a disgusting shot. There's a disgusting shot from Kyle Harrison. That's a definite yellow card offence. Russ Smith has been tolerant up to now. He's stopping the clock while he gives out his 100 lines. If a yellow card's not produced now, it never will be. Everything about this game has been absolutely splendid. We do not need cheap shots. However, I think Russ Smith is going to err on the side of caution. Harrison gets away with it. It is not kickable, but the clock is running. Anyway, Michael Hagan, Halifax's man of the match for me. For the Warrington club, well, everybody's chipped in with 101% effort. Look at that for a kick. And the kick tips the scales after that brilliant try that you all enjoyed. Warrington's man of the match will be Jonathan Davis. There's a super run inside the quarter. It was Gary Chambers. There's Roland Phillips going hard and central. We have got one or two niggles, I'm afraid to report, developing on the peripheral side of play. Paul Cullen's gone hard and central. What a game. You've enjoyed watching this tape. Get out and tell your mates. Watch some rugby. Well, there's a charge down, and there's a marvellously gutsy effort from Alan Bateman there to put a stop to the kick. Halifax player riding in agony. Game's going on. Russ Smith has not stopped the game. Roland Phillips takes a high shot from Gary Lord, and takes another high shot from Gary Lord, right under the nose from Russ Smith. Well, a yellow card would have prevented a red card. That offence merits a red card. Russ Smith is at fault for not producing the yellow card in the first place. That's all you can say to that. Unhappily, I must report, 10 yards behind play. I think we have a seriously injured Halifax player. The 2 points for the penalty make the game safe, so there is some justice. I must say that Mal Riley, Great Britain coach, you don't expect a team that he puts out to resort to cheap and nasty shots. You would expect them to try and win through football. However, enough of that. Jonathan Davis will convert. The game is safe. After the nightmare at Odsal Stadium, when many Warrington fans made the long trip and were very disappointed, the team have come out. Full credit to the coaching staff and to the men on the park. It's been a hard-earned victory. Paul Bishop getting the attention of the Warrington supporters. So Jonathan Davis then will make the score 15-7. I'll look at the clock. We're now in injury time. Time added on. Fletcher Enders enjoying themselves immensely away to Arley. Halifax supporters now feeling dejected. Whatever. I will not expect Davis to miss this. I've even wrote it on the piece of paper already. 80th minute, score goes 15-7. Well, he proves me right. 2 Stones Bitter championship points in the bag for Brian Johnson's men. What an outstanding, thoroughly professional, disciplined, all-round performance. Here's a welcome back to the field of play for Craig Teitzel, former Illawarra Steeler. Roland Phillips leads the back to the hero's reception, and why not? Craig Teitzel got one touch of first team play against St Helens and his lights were switched off. Much the same as the floodlights were here earlier. Good to see him back in the first team. Good luck to Craig. Kyle Harrison on the tackle there. Mauling Kevin Ellis somewhat. Once again, my man of the match, Michael Hagan for Halifax, Jonathan Davis for Warrington. It is Craig Teitzel going hard and central. Taking a big shot there. Teitzel plays a ball for John Thursfield, who feeds Paul Cullen. Cullen shows a sidestep. There's a defender in his wake. I'll look at the clock. Now in the 81st minute. Everybody's awaiting the hooter. One hopes that hasn't failed. Warrington keeping the ball tied in amongst the big boys. No risk will be taken. There's Craig Teitzel. Picking up good yardage running. Kick time for the Warrington club. Shelford will supply the kick. Chips it gently into the pocket. Bit of work for outstanding Halifax fullback Steve Lay. Well, I'm going to start summing this game up any moment. It has been absolutely tremendous. Bishop's unloaded. Halifax looking to launch a long-range attack. Ellis on the tackle. Marvellous tackle there. The outstanding feature of Warrington's game has been affecting tackles and knocking the yardage out of the Halifax attack. Teitzel on the tackle there. Gary Chambers has took a knock to the face. Looks somewhat groggy. Halifax keep the ball moving, are surrendering nothing. Mackey supplies a crash tackle there, much to the delight of the Warrington supporters on the far side. Here's Harrison once again. Teitzel's got him. Puts him away, no problem. Ball comes out. Ridiculous decision. Totally ridiculous decision. Russ Smith, well, he is allowed one or two errors. He's only human after all. His general control has been good. One or two mystifying decisions. However, Halifax will restart at the half. We're still not getting the hooter. On my clock, we're in the 83rd minute. Score remains 15-7. Gary Lord sets up a Halifax attack. Don't know what's happened to the hooter. If that's failed, we could be here all night. However, Bishop releases Hagan for Schuster. Schuster throws a forward pass for Steve Lay. Russ Smith's missed it. Jonathan Davis tidies up. There's a crunch. Well, there's the thinking brain of Michael Hagan. To drop on the ball was to concede a penalty. He did the right thing. Lee Penny gets up somewhat groggily. Ball goes midfield. Tony Thornley. Cheap shot in the tackle again. The player will remain nameless. Thursfield acting hard. There's outstanding prop forward Gary Chambers. Everybody on the field tonight, once again, has earned the pay. Whatever they get paid after a game like this, it isn't enough. Here's Sanderson. And there's the hooter. There's the final hooter. What an outstanding game. Warrington running out winners 15-7.